I'm
Okay.
Paige of Jeff and Paige. And so I work with he's my husband. And we do science and nature-based music for kids. And they're grown-ups. And Emily Freeman is here with us. She is the Circular Economy Policy Advisor for the City of Boulder. She loves her job because it connects her lifelong love of the outdoors and keeping the earth full of the resources that we in it needs, not just for my kid, but for all of the kids. And one of Emily's favorite things to do with her son, Jackson, who I'm a big fan of, is to go on adventures, biking to school, or camping in Moab, from the little to the big adventures. And Jackson said his favorite thing to do with his mom is to go to the pool and ride bikes. Welcome, Emily.
Thanks, Paige. Really glad to be here.
Tonight we're talking about and learning about deconstruction. Can you just give us a little overview? What does that mean?
Like the easiest way to say like what is deconstruction, it's kind of the unbuilding of a house. So it's taking apart a house from like the top down, from the roof to the foundation, and doing it in a way that doesn't demolish, it doesn't destroy all the natural resources that are in our buildings, things that we can reuse in our communities, whether it's reuse in our own house or getting that material back to a resource central and being able to allow other people in our community to have access to your old cabinets or fixtures and even the lumber behind our walls. So yeah, it's basically the unbuilding of a house.
I love that. That's a really cool way to think about it. I like how you described it from top to bottom. That helps me as a visual learner. And so for those people watching, it's different than you use the other word, demolishing, right? Is that like demolition or demolishing a building is what we're used to hearing about when we're going to take a building away? This is deconstruction, and it preserves the materials rather than demolishing them.
Exactly. Like over the last 100 years, we have just normalized demolition. We've got a lot more large, heavy equipment, and it can easily clear out a space fast and quick. But the resources that went into building our buildings take a long time to regenerate and to grow. So if we don't treat them with the same level of respect, then we're not going to be able to have those resources for future generations. And that's a lot of the things that we talk about here at the City of Boulder as well. We have to start learning to like engage with our architects and designers and say, how can we maybe go to Resource Central or go to Reclaimed? They have a reclaimed warehouse. These are places that we can help introduce our designers and architects who are helping us with those buildings to connect to resources that are sourcing things that they've reclaimed from houses. Another one that I found out recently was a place called Refound Goods. And it's ways that we can just identify really unique pieces of furniture or sinks or even teak flooring at like $1 per square foot. And those are ways that we can bring those design elements and those resources back into our homes, whether we're building, remodeling, and then deconstruction is when you're taking down a house, and it doesn't even have to be taking down. It could be renovating my kitchen. Can I save my cabinets? Can I save the sink? And can those be used in another application?
Okay, so that's a great example. Emily and I were chatting to prepare for the interview, and I was thinking of deconstruction as something that, like, I probably was never going to do because I'm not really building anything. And then she mentioned, like what she just did, that if we wanted to remodel, like, say, our kitchen, there's a way to do it, A, more sustainably, and B, more affordably, by using deconstruction and then connecting that circular economy by getting our materials from a place like Resource Central, which is a place here in Boulder that you can get materials. So Emily, will you walk us through just like where can people here in Boulder and possibly elsewhere, because sometimes people may be watching this from further away, so if you have thoughts on that, donate items like cabinets, doors, fixtures, and lumber so that they stay in use and out of the landfill?
Yeah, so here in Boulder, Resource Central is our best option. I personally love them because they're our local nonprofit, and it kind of can give you tax breaks on what you might donate. But they also will come out to your house for free and do a walkthrough, whether it's, you know, your kitchen, bathroom, living space, and say, these are the items that we can accept. And then when you're ready to take those items out, they will come back to your house for free and haul them away over to
Really?
their facility. Yeah,
Wait,
it's free.
they
Yes.
will come walk through my house and then come back and pick it up for free?
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
You call, you schedule it, and they will come get it. They have a couple box trucks, and they will come do that. So you're saving on hauling. You also don't have to figure out, how am I going to get these cabinets? I did this with my dishwasher. My dishwasher had like a little thing wrong, but they were like, yep, that's like, we got that fixed. And I said, hey, you know, we're going to get a new dishwasher. And we replaced it, and Resource Central came out to my house and helped me get it down my front steps because I didn't have the dolly, and they took it away. And it was totally functional. Um, and that's all, like, it has to be functional. Walk through, they also give you the tax donation receipt. So you're able to use that to, like, hopefully offset your taxes. Other resources that we have around here is some of the Habitat for Humanity restores will accept certain items. I know several deconstruction contractors who utilize that. So if you have some good quality materials, you can take it to the restores. They tend to be a little bit more picky, but it's another option. There's a place, I think, Central Denver, called Ted's Warehouse. Ted's Warehouse is similar. We use them to accept a lot of the interior materials from the hospital deconstruction that we did.
Emily, will you tell a little bit about that? That was going to be my next question. So we've been talking about small projects at home, which I think is amazing. And like I said, it was something I hadn't thought of for deconstruction. Give us, I know you've talked about it. You even got interviewed on NPR, I think, right? Not like the national public radio part, about this amazing thing that happened here in Boulder. Will you just give us like a quick overview of what happened with the Boulder Hospital?
Yeah, so in, I think it was like 2017, the city purchased kind of 4 buildings, and one of those buildings in that same property, and the city has a vision of rehoming our city offices to the Western City campus. And when we looked at that space, we realized that we can do what's called adaptive reuse of the pavilion. So that's the building that remains standing. But we approached the hospital building plus that administrative wing for interior deconstruction, where we're doing that soft stripping, pulling out cabinets and desks and bookshelves and doors and insulation and ceiling tiles. We were able to identify, store, and save some of that material for the renovation of the new city campus, Western City campus. But we were able to partner with like Ted's Warehouse and auction houses to get everything else moved out, and find new homes in the community for all sorts of things. But the hospital was starting to be built, I think, in the 1920s, and it just added on and added on. It didn't have a way that we could adapt it for reuse. So we identified that that piece of the building needed to come down. It was 260,000 square feet of building. Had a shared wall with that pavilion, but it was non-structural. So we were like, let's partner and approach this in the same vein that we do anything else. We have to follow our own city ordinance. City buildings are not exempt from any of the other requirements that the public are also looking to accomplish. And so what we did is we partnered with our structural engineer, and we said, we want to reuse as much as possible. Let's use this as a case study to understand what's possible. So after taking everything out from the interior of the building, we worked the structural engineer to save 584 structural I-beams. Those are those big metal beams. We extracted them, placed them on the parking lot and for storage. We have since been able to use 89 of those beams in the new construction of Fire Station 3, which is completed. And we've also placed all the rest of those beams at new builds and for new projects as well. So it's a really great success story where we've been able to save, and it's the largest to date reuse of structural steel in all of North America. So we're very excited to be that first one to push things forward. I think one of the things people are like, oh, but like, I'm so sad. I was born there. My coworker Sandy, she was born at that hospital, and she's like, that building is gone. But in reusing, we gave new life to those beams, and knowing that the lives that were started at the hospital in that building are not just all in the landfill. I think it's a really great story for us to tell.
So wonderful. And just to go back to the kind of basics of why we're talking about deconstruction is that we're trying to, when we're redesigning our systems to be more sustainable, really we're trying to make a circle. And so the hospital and the way you're talking about deconstruction, the home, is taking the pieces that are already in use and then giving them a new life rather than having it be a line. So a circle instead of a line. So circular economy. Emily, you want to ask me a question? Are you? Yeah. I'm ready.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you, how many virgin trees that you might find in the forest, do you think it takes to build a typical 1,500 square foot house?
Oh man, this is not a Paige kind of a question. Okay, I'm gonna try. This is gonna be like a wild guess. I don't even think I can call this a hypothesis. How many virgin trees to build a 1,500 square foot house using normal ways of construction?
Yep.
100.
You're actually really high. Most people guess lower. So
I was picturing really tiny trees from a tree farm.
That's actually a really great point. So back in the day, it was around 22 to 25 trees, but that's because trees were larger and they had tighter green. They were old growth trees. And so you needed fewer trees because they had a larger diameter, and they were also taller as well. And now when those forests are felled, they're replanting trees that are fast growing. They have shallow root systems. There's a whole number of like natural resource issues that go along with that. But when they fell those trees now, they're shorter trees. They have smaller diameters. And so you need to harvest about 55 to 60 trees to be able to build one new house. And then you're driving by, as you said earlier, you see those new developments just popping up everywhere. Each one of those houses that are probably not 1,500 square feet, they're probably double that size, are using at least 55 to 60 trees, probably even on the scale of 100 trees as well. So
wow. So how can deconstruction help with that issue?
So deconstruction is that unbuilding of the house. So when you are taking off the drywall off the walls, like you see behind me, you've got lumber that's behind there. And in demolition, we just bulldoze and trash everything. Right. And those trees that, were taking, 50, 60 years to grow are now lost forever. Especially if you have an older home where you have that old growth timber, those trees are never going to be back as really high quality lumber. And that is stuff that we really want to work to save. So deconstruction allows us to take that lumber back to a resource central, back to Perks Reclaimed, back to like Ted's Warehouse, and allows those trees to have another life, whether they be it for, we can reuse stamped lumber back into homes. There's nothing preventing a architect from reincorporating that back into a new home. It could be used for non-structural walls. It could be used for fence posts. It could be used for making a really interesting like wood design on your walls, or putting like wood cladding up. So there's so many uses that you can have for that lumber. It's just kind of using your imagination to see what's possible. The trees in your walls really do have a new life.
I love that. I like thinking about the trees in my walls.
Exactly.
I think you've given me a different, like, I'm just looking in the room that I'm in right now, and I actually have some furniture that's wood in the room that was from my great grandmother. And I'm just realizing that's really old, amazing wood. But it has to be. It's really old. Those are trees. Yeah, I think that's a really beautiful connection. Everyone imagine the wood in your walls.
The other question I wanted to ask you was, so a typical home is at 55 to 60 trees that have to be cut down. How many acres of forest land is that?
Oh gosh, another really tricky one. I'm picturing what 1 acre is right now.
It's about 1.5 acres of trees that have to. Yeah. But then you go out and you're walking even like one of the trails around here, and you're up at Batasso, and you're just like, wow, you have to cut down an acre and a half of forest so I can have a new house. When I already have a house I quite possibly already have a house that is standing. Are there ways that we can, again, encourage our architects, designers, developers to incorporate reuse? Can we look at building codes that will help prioritize introducing reuse elements into our buildings that will help entice people to want to incorporate these elements? I think a lot of it is that we don't know. We don't know what's possible, but we need these resources, our community resources. It's not just the policy saying, let's take down this house, but we need places to take materials. We need to support this within that engineering design community, within the building codes that allow and encourage the reuses as well. And I think another thing is like building, like you're building a new house, you want it to be this beautiful thing, and showing the aesthetic of what was old can be beautiful, and how to incorporate that is just, I think that's something we need to all maybe just take a step back and think that we don't need this bright shiny new thing, that we can make something absolutely gorgeous from things that already exist.
Yeah. You're giving me food for thought. I have a lot of, just from a personal note, Jeff and I, being who we are and the education background that we have, we mostly, our whole home pretty much is furnished from used and thrift store items. And now that I'm a little older, I definitely have noticed myself wanting to, upgrade. And it's very tempting with how cheap and easy it is to just get on your phone and order something from, I will not name names of anywhere you can order things from. I will not promote anywhere, but you all know what I'm talking about. It's really tempting and really easy. And so I'm just noting it. I have no concluding thoughts other than it's a good reminder that old and used and things that are scratched and have character are really beautiful too, and it really depends on how we're looking at it. And there's such a push towards things being white and shiny and clean. And again, I will not name any names of companies that do that, but they're out there. And I'm gonna look at the dings in my furniture a little differently after this talk. I like it.
Character. I was speaking with an architect out of Seattle, and she had that same desire to say, I need to stop designing for new and seeing where I can source stuff. So she's working with a salvage lumber warehouse out of King County, which is the Seattle area, and figuring out how she can kind of change that aesthetic, and then get that material out there. I was actually visiting a friend in Portland and then decided to take a work tour because I was already there. So visit a place called Goodwood. And in Portland, they also require deconstruction of homes. So, but all the, in Portland, it was driven because all the homes are old growth timber. So
right.
only 1% of the Pacific Northwest rainforest like remains intact, and those trees are the buildings in Portland. And so they hand deconstruct to save that wood. And companies like Goodwood, I'm remembering it because I already talked about them once today. They take that wood and they make it into mantelpieces and sconces and really absolutely beautiful things to decorate your home. And they do wood flooring as well. It's just, I think, reimagining what is possible and realizing that like the forests are worth saving and the wood, even in our newer homes, are worth saving as well.
So I want to end with one fun thing, but before we do that one fun ending thing, I want to make sure we talk briefly about, you know, when we think of architects and design, you know, it feels like maybe that's going to be out of my reach financially. How does deconstruction and the work that you're doing actually help with equity and for people who maybe don't have a huge budget to work with?
So when I talk to Resource Central, they often like state this as fact for them, is that they are able to provide high quality building materials back to our Boulder community at about a third of the cost of what you can get at